Okay, so the Klug is a Discord server that revolving around Major Klug. He owns the server and is pretty active there, but sometimes the stuff that goes there in the Kluging's community in general is pretty disgusting and even illegal sometimes. Obviously the server has a big problem with toxic behavior and questionable humor, but at this point that's the least of its problems. I mean, it's pretty much every Discord server at this point, no one gives a shit.
Probably the worst thing about Clue's community is the problem with minors doing sexual shit then publicizing it. This is most commonly through ERP or erotic roleplay, and honestly it's just become pretty out of control at this point. Take last year for example, where there was like one public incident of someone doing ERP. I wonder who that was. But even with that said, nowadays there are people who just ERP with anyone who's willing to do it, which is pretty weird. I mean, at least last time it was really only just between two people, but now it's just everywhere and it's kinda gross. Take Rat Dealer for example. She ERP'd with a lot of people, sometimes against their will, which is pretty screwed up. According to a friend of Rat Dealer, she also ended up exposing most of the sexual DMs herself for the, and I quote, joy out of leaking others, which is really sadistic. Also, despite Clue directly saying that admins can't ERP with server members, well, someone who did it with Rat Dealer just so happened to be an admin. Probably as a result of the weird humor that goes on in Clue Gang. Of course you're gonna have people who say that they ERP ironically, which is really just a lame excuse. Even I demonstrated this weird humor by doing the whole fake ERP thing back in January. But like, come on, at least I didn't actually do it, nor did I just start randomly sending ERP messages to people without their consent. The entire thing with ironic ERP in Clue Gang is just really weird in general and also pretty disgusting too, considering that nearly all public cases of leaked sexual DMs are just random people who aren't in any sort of genuine romantic relationship.
Well, all this ERP nonsense is pretty weird. There's also a lot of illustrated porn in Klug's community as a whole, which is really gross. There's at least 10 incidents of Korean former members publicly sharing or drawing NSFW within the span of 2 months, and considering there are less than 3,000 people in the server, this is a strangely high number. If Klug's community, well, let's just say 100,000 strong, then this would be a more appropriate number. But nah, they're really just a disproportionate amount of NSFW. One example of this weirdness of W shit was when one guy just went and drew a member sucking dick for a non-contest held among other members of the server. And yeah, he got bullied for it, but he didn't get bad or anything. There was this other time too when Shotgun just went and posted hentai for some reason. But since it's Shotgun, no one really cared and there were any real consequences in the end. And another time, Kel and Yuri both just said crap in SW of themselves as their profile pictures. But at least that time they were apparently told to stop. Kel ended up being promoted about a week later though, which is pretty weird and a bit unfair.
Yet another example of all the porn involving minors was when a member called Soda drew straight up porn of two other guys called Dav and Blank for no reason other than the fact that Blank said he wouldn't do it on account of it being disgusting and illegal. Dav was already banned from Clue Gang for sending a bunch of porn to other people, but at least Blank and Soda were banned too. But even though they were all punished quickly and appropriately, this whole thing still happened when it obviously shouldn't have, and it's pretty disturbing how someone would just casually cross that line out of spite. Now this wouldn't be a criticism of porn in Clue's community if we didn't mention Dirk, so why not take care of that? Dirk is this 14-year-old who used to be a moderator in Clue Gang, and he's got a friend who likes to draw porn of minors OCs for some reason. An example of this was when Dirk's friend just casually went and drew porn of Goldie, which is a female depiction of a Clue Gang mod, who is of course a minor. There was also porn of Jane, another female depiction of a minor, as well as female Frosty, which is, you guessed it, yet another female depiction of a minor.
And if that wasn't enough, Dirk also requested his friend to draw porn of female Spotty, which is yet another female depiction of a minor's OC, who happens to be a 13-year-old child. And even when faced with this disgusting shit, Dirk really hasn't posted porn all that much and a lot for a while. But through this, he directly contributed to the problem by requesting it.
As if there weren't many weird examples of Dirk's friend drawing NSFW, he decided to add one more to the list. This time, he drew NSFW of Dirk's OC having sex with Lastkia, which is yet another female depiction of a minor. While you'd think there was a negative reaction to this by the other members, many people actually found it funny for some reason and went around posting it everywhere, including Clue Gang's general chat.
After this, though, Dirk finally left Clue Gang, but neither him nor his friend were banned. And all this happened less than 4 months ago. And though Dirk could have tried to put a stop to everything, he instead chose to allow them contribute to it, which really doesn't look good for him. Even though Dirk has done some disgusting shit, there's still one guy who's worse. Meet Ninji, a 14-year-old kid who has done at least 6 NSFW images, 5 of which being porn. As hilariously ludicrous and disturbing as it may seem, 2 of the porn images he drew were of himself. Fucking Christ, what a piece of...
But also, Ninja drew NSFW of Bag Girl, who was created by a minor and is canonically 16. And he drew porn of, get this, a female depiction of another minor, which seems to be some strange trend at this point. He also drew YIF, which is pretty nasty too. As of August 2021, Ninja also co-owns an ERP server where he posts the porn he draws to show the other members of a server who are also minors like him. So he essentially just runs a porn server where he exposes his underage followers to pornographic images and ERP, and he even has some of them draw it as well. Yeah, this guy is disgusting, and he's been doing this stuff for months. He's also just a pervert in general, but at this point that's just kinda expected.
Despite all the disgusting shit he's done, Ninja somehow manages to have quite a lot of sympathizers who are mostly just members of his service in Kluging. These people tend to be too cowardly and leave the bastard, or just don't care about the stuff he does. Either way, that's pretty worrying. Also, Ninja had gotten away with all of this for over 4 months before finally getting permanently banned from Kluging, which is also pretty concerning.
There's also Kale and Yuri, who are, well, they're Kale and Yuri. According to an admin in Klug Inc., apparently Yuri commissions NSFW of his and Kale's OC despite them both being minors, which is really creepy and weird. And according to a separate mod, Kale commissions it too. We've already covered that time when they set their profile pictures as an image of Yuri fucking Kale, but there's probably even more that goes on behind the scenes, and that's really disgusting. But despite all that, Kale somehow maintains his rank as co-owner, and Yuri somehow stays in the server for whatever biased reason there is.